Welcome back to another thought-provoking episode of our travel documentary series, where we journey into the heart of the world's most iconic cities and uncover their hidden stories. Today, we take you to Las Vegas, famous for its dazzling neon lights, world-class casinos, and the irresistible pull of non-stop entertainment. But beyond the glitzy surface lies a side of the city that few ever see. While millions flock to experience the excitement of Sin City, not everyone walks away with a fortune. Behind the luxury resorts and the vibrant nightlife, there's a darker reality of hardship and struggle. Thousands live in the shadows of this glittering city, many trapped in the harsh reality of homelessness. Join us as we shine a light on this often overlooked side of Las Vegas, where those who have lost everything fight to survive in a city built on dreams. Before we dive deeper, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel Travel Documentary. If you're enjoying our series, make sure to hit the notification bell so you won't miss our latest videos that reveal the hidden sides of cities across the globe. The city of contrasts. Las Vegas, known as the entertainment capital of the world, is a city where extremes meet. On one side, you have a glittering world of luxury resorts, gourmet dining, and top-tier performances. On the other, a much grimmer reality unfolds just blocks away from the famous Strip, a homelessness crisis that continues to worsen. While visitors indulge in the high-end lifestyle the city promises, many locals are caught in a constant struggle to meet basic needs. According to recent government reports, nearly 8,000 people are currently homeless in Las Vegas, with the number climbing each year. In fact, in just a single year, the homeless population saw an alarming 20% increase. This sharp rise in homelessness raises an important question: what drives so many people to risk everything in a city that's notorious for quickly consuming fortunes? For many, it's the magnetic pull of the American dream, a belief that in Vegas anything is possible. But what happens when that dream falls apart? The bright lights of Vegas often hide the city's deep-rooted issues, and those who arrive with hope sometimes end up with nothing left to lose. Las Vegas is a city of glaring contrasts, where luxury exists alongside despair, and where the line between success and failure can be incredibly thin. With skyrocketing housing costs, increasing unemployment, and support systems stretched to the limit, many residents find themselves pushed to the edges of society. In Vegas, the stakes aren't just financial, they're often life-altering. Mental health and addiction. Las Vegas is famous for being a place where you can take risks, live on the edge, and indulge in your wildest desires. But for many, those risks lead to devastating consequences. Mental health issues and addiction play a significant role in the city's growing homelessness crisis. It's estimated that nearly 2/3 of Las Vegas's homeless population suffers from mental health challenges or substance abuse. In fact, recent studies indicate that approximately 68% of homeless individuals in Las Vegas are battling some form of mental illness, while around 55% struggle with addiction. For these individuals, the road to recovery is often blocked by a lack of resources, stigma, and the relentless pressures of survival on the streets. What would you do if you were battling mental illness and homelessness at the same time? For many in Las Vegas, this is their everyday reality. Conditions like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and PTSD are common among the homeless, and without proper treatment, these issues make it nearly impossible to hold a job or maintain stable housing. Instead, they become trapped in a vicious cycle. Untreated mental health problems lead to addiction, and addiction pushes them deeper into homelessness. This issue deserves to be criticized and vehemently opposed, as it goes against the democratic rights of these homeless people. Moreover, recent data shows that only about 30% of those in need receive adequate mental health services, highlighting a critical gap in support systems. For some, these struggles begin with childhood trauma or abuse. Others develop mental health issues due to the trauma they endure while living on the streets. Substance abuse becomes a common coping mechanism for the emotional pain they experience, but it only worsens their situation, creating a downward spiral that's hard to escape without help. Additionally, the economic strain of Las Vegas, with its high cost of living and limited affordable housing options, exacerbates the problem. Statistics reveal that homelessness in Las Vegas has increased by 15% over the past 5 years, with mental health and addiction being primary contributing factors. Addressing these intertwined issues requires comprehensive strategies that include increased funding for mental health services, addiction treatment programs, and affordable housing initiatives to break the cycle and support those in need. The housing crisis. A major contributor to Las Vegas's homelessness crisis is its critical shortage of affordable housing. Did you know that for every 100 low-income renters, there are only 14 affordable housing units available? This staggering gap in a city that prides itself on offering endless opportunities leaves many residents vulnerable. As a result, thousands of people are forced to spend over 30% of their income on rent, leaving them one small setback away from losing everything. A sudden illness, a job loss, or even a car breakdown can push families into homelessness. In recent years, housing costs in Las Vegas have soared, far outpacing wage growth. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment now exceeds $1,200 per month. For workers in the hospitality and service industries, the backbone of the city's economy, this is simply unaffordable. Many of these workers live paycheck to paycheck, perpetually on the brink of financial collapse. So, here's a thought. How can a city that generates billions in tourism revenue fail to provide affordable housing for its residents? The answer lies in the sharp divide between those who profit from the booming tourism industry and those who are left struggling in its shadow. As more luxury hotels, casinos, and high-end developments rise, affordable housing options continue to vanish, pushing low-income residents further into poverty. The impact of COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic had far-reaching effects across the globe, but few places were hit as hard as Las Vegas. The city's dependence on tourism and entertainment meant that when travel halted, thousands of jobs disappeared overnight. The hospitality and service industries, which provide jobs for a large portion of Las Vegas residents, were decimated. The economic fallout pushed many families, already living paycheck to paycheck, to the brink of homelessness. Although eviction moratoriums provided temporary relief during the height of the pandemic, the end of these protections caused a sharp increase in homelessness. With the end of federal unemployment benefits and rental assistance programs, many individuals and families were left without a safety net, resulting in a surge in people losing their homes. As a result, Las Vegas is now facing the long-term effects of the pandemic, with homelessness becoming an even more pressing issue. The mental health impact of COVID-19 also took its toll. Isolation, uncertainty, and financial strain exacerbated existing mental health issues for many residents. Substance abuse rates soared, and access to mental health services became even more limited due to overburdened healthcare systems. Many people who were on the edge before the pandemic now find themselves living on the streets, their lives altered irreparably by the crisis. A harsh reality, life on the streets. Surviving on the streets of Las Vegas presents unique challenges. The city's desert climate can be unforgiving. Summer temperatures regularly exceed 110 deg 443 deg C, turning the streets into a blistering furnace. Without access to proper shelter, water, or shade, homeless individuals face constant threats of heat stroke, dehydration, and even death. Surviving in the summer is a daily struggle. Winter brings a different set of challenges. Though the days may remain warm, temperatures can plummet at night, often reaching freezing levels. For those sleeping outdoors, this can be life-threatening. Without proper clothing or shelter, many homeless individuals succumb to the cold, unable to survive the sharp temperature shifts. In downtown Las Vegas, near shelters like Catholic Charities, groups of homeless people gather daily, hoping to secure a bed in an emergency shelter. However, shelter availability is limited, and many are turned away when the shelter reaches capacity. For those unable to secure a bed, the streets become their home for the night, leaving them exposed to both the elements and the dangers of street life. The mole people of Las Vegas. One of the most surprising aspects of Las Vegas's homelessness crisis is the existence of the so-called mole people. These individuals have taken refuge in the flood control tunnels beneath the city. Originally built to manage flash floods, these tunnels stretch for miles beneath the streets of Las Vegas. For around 1,500 people, these tunnels offer a temporary escape from the dangers above ground. But life in the tunnels is far from safe. Flash floods can strike with little warning, quickly filling the tunnels with water. For those caught in these floods, the result can be fatal. Beyond the risk of floods, the tunnels are unsanitary and lacking in basic resources like clean water and ventilation, creating conditions that are ripe for disease. These infections spread rapidly in these cramped, unhygienic spaces, and the lack of medical care means even minor health issues can become life-threatening. Despite these risks, many of the mole people prefer the relative isolation of the tunnels to life above ground, where they face constant police raids, violence, and competition for scarce resources. Charities like Shine a Light are working to support tunnel residents, offering medical care, supplies, and pathways out of the tunnels. But for many, these tunnels are the only place they feel even a semblance of safety. Stigma and society's perception. A significant challenge in addressing homelessness is the stigma attached to it. Society often views the homeless as a problem to be solved or a burden without truly understanding the complex issues that lead someone to lose their home. This stigma makes it even harder for homeless individuals to break free from their situation, as they are often seen as undeserving of help or opportunity. Public perception is a major factor in how the homeless are treated. Many people believe that homelessness is simply the result of poor life choices, overlooking systemic issues like the lack of affordable housing, inadequate mental health care, and job opportunities. This negative perception often leads to discrimination and exclusion, making it harder for the homeless to find work, secure housing, or even receive medical care. For those living in shelters or on the streets, this stigma can feel overwhelming. Many face judgment not only from the general public but also from government agencies, making it harder for them to access the support they need. As a result, some homeless individuals choose to hide their plight, fearing further alienation and rejection. Struggling for survival, daily life. For the homeless in Las Vegas, survival is an ongoing battle. With limited resources at their disposal, many are forced to turn to panhandling, collecting recyclables, or taking on odd jobs just to get by. However, these attempts at survival often put them at risk of exploitation and harm. Unscrupulous individuals prey on their vulnerability, offering dangerous or illegal work for little pay, or sometimes no pay at all. Violence is another persistent threat they face on the streets. Homeless people are frequently targeted by criminals who see them as easy targets. While many endure physical abuse, theft, or even worse. Women, in particular, are highly susceptible to human trafficking and sexual exploitation. With nowhere to find safety, many homeless individuals live in constant fear, never knowing when they may become the next victim of violence. For those battling addiction, the daily fight for survival becomes even more overwhelming. Substance abuse only adds to the already immense difficulties of living on the streets, as addiction drains their time, money, and energy. In many instances, addiction is the only brief escape from the harsh reality of their lives, despite the fact that it ultimately worsens their situation. So, what can be done to address the growing homelessness crisis in Las Vegas? While both the government and nonprofits are playing essential roles, individuals can also make a difference. Whether by donating to shelters, volunteering at food banks, or simply educating others about the realities of homelessness, every small action counts. Now, let's take a look at the other states with the highest rates of homelessness in the U.S. Healthcare, an ongoing crisis. Access to healthcare is a critical issue for the homeless population in Las Vegas. Without stable housing or health insurance, many are left to rely on emergency rooms as their primary healthcare option. Surveys show that over 40% of homeless individuals in the area use emergency rooms as their main source of medical care. This situation puts enormous pressure on the healthcare system, increasing costs for taxpayers and limiting resources for other individuals in need. Chronic health problems like tuberculosis, respiratory infections, and skin conditions are widespread among the homeless due to the unsanitary living conditions in the streets and underground tunnels. Additionally, untreated mental health disorders such as schizophrenia and bipolar disorder often spiral out of control, leaving individuals unable to care for themselves or make informed decisions regarding their health. Without access to preventive care, minor health issues often develop into life-threatening crises. A simple infection can escalate into a deadly condition if left untreated for weeks or months. While the expansion of Medicaid in Nevada has provided some homeless individuals with access to health care, it has not been sufficient to address the full extent of the problem. A glimpse of hope, charitable efforts. Despite the overwhelming challenges posed by homelessness in Las Vegas, several organizations and community groups are dedicated to making a positive impact. Nonprofits like Nevada Homeless Alliance and Help Hope Home work tirelessly to provide essential resources for homeless individuals trying to get back on their feet. From food banks to recovery programs, these organizations serve as a lifeline for many who would otherwise have no support. One of the most impactful efforts is the work of Shine a Light, a charity focused on the mole people living in the flood control tunnels beneath the city. Their outreach teams regularly visit these tunnels, offering medical care, supplies, and pathways to addiction recovery and housing. For those living underground, this support can be a life-changing intervention, offering a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak situation. The Courtyard Homeless Resource Center is another crucial organization providing integrated services like temporary housing, medical care, and job training. However, these efforts are often constrained by funding and shelter capacity. While many are working tirelessly to solve the problem, the scale of homelessness in Las Vegas requires a broader, systemic approach to create real change. Community impact. Homelessness doesn't only affect those living on the streets, it impacts the entire community. In a city like Las Vegas, where tourism is a major economic driver, the presence of large homeless encampments creates tension between tourists, residents, and the homeless. Public spaces such as parks, sidewalks, and plazas are often occupied by homeless individuals seeking shelter or food, leading to complaints from both visitors and locals. The visibility of homelessness also tarnishes the city's image, especially among tourists. Visitors coming to Las Vegas for a fun, carefree vacation may be shocked to encounter people living in severe poverty just blocks away from the famous Strip. This stark contrast between luxury and despair is hard to ignore and raises uncomfortable questions about the city's priorities when it comes to addressing social issues. Crime and disorder are also common in areas with concentrated homelessness. With limited access to services and support, many homeless individuals turn to petty crimes or survival tactics that disturb public order. This creates a cycle where increased policing is seen as the solution, but without addressing the root causes, the problem continues to persist. Number 5. Los Angeles. Los Angeles holds the second spot in the U.S. for its homeless population, with approximately 71,320 people living without permanent housing as of September 2024. The city's homelessness crisis is especially visible in areas like Skid Row, which has become the epicenter for thousands of people living on the streets. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles is $2,800 per month, while the median home price hovers around $900,000. For many working-class residents, these prices are simply unattainable, and even full-time employment no longer guarantees affordable housing. Crime is another factor, as many homeless individuals find themselves living in unsafe conditions where their security is constantly at risk. Despite billions of dollars being invested in efforts to combat homelessness, Los Angeles continues to face a deficit of over 500,000 affordable housing units. Women, in particular, are vulnerable, often experiencing heightened risks of violence and exploitation due to the lack of secure housing. The city's homelessness crisis reflects broader systemic issues, including rising living costs and inadequate support systems. Los Angeles has expanded emergency shelters, built supportive housing units, and increased funding for mental health services, but these efforts have not kept pace with the growing demand. The rising number of individuals experiencing homelessness has overwhelmed the shelter system, leaving many without access to even temporary housing. To make meaningful progress, Los Angeles must prioritize the construction of long-term affordable housing and provide the necessary wraparound services to help people regain stability. Number 4. Seattle. Seattle comes in at number 3, with roughly 14,444 people experiencing homelessness as of September 2024. As a hub for tech giants like Amazon and Microsoft, Seattle boasts one of the most prosperous economies in the country. However, the wealth generated by the tech industry has also driven housing prices to levels that are out of reach for many residents. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment is now $2,600 per month, and the median home price has risen to $875,000. These high costs make it impossible for many individuals, even those with full-time jobs, to secure stable housing. Seattle's public response to homelessness has included actions like encampment sweeps, which displace people without providing lasting solutions. Mental health and addiction are major factors contributing to homelessness in Seattle. Around 35% of the homeless population struggles with mental health issues, and many lack access to adequate treatment. Women, especially those who have survived abuse or are single mothers, are disproportionately affected. They face additional barriers in accessing safe shelter, childcare, and stable employment. Seattle has allocated over $200 million toward homelessness services, but the demand for affordable housing continues to grow. The city needs at least 35,000 additional affordable units to effectively address the crisis. Seattle's challenge lies in developing long-term strategies that ensure all residents have equitable access to housing. This includes not only increasing the supply of affordable housing, but also providing comprehensive support services, such as job training, healthcare, and mental health programs. Number 3. San Diego. San Diego is ranked 4th in the U.S. for its homeless population, with approximately 10,264 people living without permanent housing as of September 2024. The city's astronomical living costs are a significant driver of homelessness. The median home price is around $900,000, and the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment exceeds $2,500 per month, making it nearly impossible for many residents to afford housing. San Diego's response to homelessness often involves city sweeps, displacing homeless individuals without addressing the underlying causes of their situation. Women and families are particularly hard hit, often living in temporary shelters or even their cars, searching for safety and stability. The lack of affordable housing units in San Diego is compounded by a shortage of social services and support for individuals facing mental health challenges or substance abuse issues. While the city has made efforts to invest in affordable housing, there is still a gap of at least 15,000 affordable units. To truly address this crisis, the city needs permanent solutions, such as expanding mental health services and increasing low-income housing options. San Diego has also seen a rise in homelessness among veterans, who represent a significant portion of the homeless population. Despite efforts to provide housing assistance to veterans, many still struggle to find stable housing due to limited resources and the high cost of living. Tackling homelessness in San Diego requires a holistic approach, including affordable housing, expanded mental health services, and tailored support for vulnerable groups like veterans. Number 2. Denver. Denver ranks 5th with an estimated 10,054 individuals experiencing homelessness as of September 2024. The escalating cost of housing is a major contributor to the city's growing homelessness issue. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment now sits at $2,100 per month, and the median home price has surpassed $570,000, making homeownership unattainable for many residents. Entire families are struggling to secure stable shelter, and the number of visible homeless encampments continues to rise across the city. Women, especially single mothers, face unique challenges in this crisis. Without stable housing, they are more vulnerable to violence and find it difficult to maintain steady employment or care for their children. Denver has invested millions of dollars in affordable housing projects, but the gap between the available supply and growing demand remains substantial. The city needs at least 70,000 additional affordable housing units to meet current needs. Without further investment and thoughtful planning, the homelessness crisis in Denver is likely to worsen. The city has also focused on expanding mental health and addiction services, understanding that many individuals facing homelessness are dealing with underlying health issues. Unfortunately, these services are often stretched thin, and many people seeking help face long waiting times or no access at all. Denver's approach must encompass not only housing but also comprehensive support systems that prioritize the health and well-being of those without homes. Number 1. New York City. New York City holds the unfortunate title of having the largest homeless population in the United States, with more than 88,000 people experiencing homelessness as of September 2024. While the city is known for its wealth and status as a global financial center, it is also home to tens of thousands of people struggling to find even the most basic shelter. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in New York City has reached $4,000 per month, and the median home price exceeds $1 million. Recently, the city has seen an influx of nearly 100,000 migrants, which has placed an additional strain on its already overstretched shelter system. Many shelters are full, forcing thousands to sleep on the streets, in subway stations, or in makeshift camps. Women are particularly affected by the lack of safe spaces, facing increased risks of violence and instability. Although the city has made efforts to expand shelters and build affordable housing, the demand continues to outstrip available resources. The homelessness crisis in New York highlights broader social and economic inequalities. The real challenge lies in creating a system that guarantees access to safe and affordable housing for everyone. While New York City has implemented several programs aimed at providing temporary housing, these efforts are insufficient given the overwhelming demand. The city has also faced criticism for its lack of coordination between agencies and insufficient funding for mental health services. To truly address the crisis, New York must focus on building permanent affordable housing and ensuring that support services are accessible to all those in need. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of the homelessness crisis in the U.S. from a travel documentary perspective. The stories we've shared are more than just numbers. They represent real people, many of them women, who deserve dignity, safety, and the chance to rebuild their lives. If this video resonated with you, please leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more travel documentaries that shine a light on important global issues. Together, we can spread awareness and drive meaningful change.